I'm David Hunt, and welcome to The Art Hunter. My guest today, so clever, so thinks he's so important, and I've got to, make out that I'm really impressed by him. Tenor, actor, producer, director, toured Europe, over 100 performances through Europe, whatever. Actually spent a lot of time performing in Canada with an opera company over there. He also performed the national anthem of Canada and the US, but he is Australian, for the 2010 Vancouver Winter Olympics. Wow, can't wait to talk to him about that. He's had an amazing career as an opera singer, and he throws in a bit of Gilbert Sullivan along the way. And what's Fiddler on the Roof? Or is it Fiddler on the Roof, or is it something else? Anyway, there's too many amazing things to talk to him about. Let's just talk to him about. Adrian, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, David.
My pleasure. Opera singer. Where did that all begin? When did you realise that you might be an opera singer?
I was about 13, and I was doing some competitions, some Eisteddfods, and one of the adjudicators at the time said, "You've got this raw talent. You probably never heard of opera before, but we think your voice would be suited to that. We'd like to introduce you to one of the teachers at the VCA." And the rest was history. I started going to school at VCAS.
Oh, okay.
And was a VCAS student.
What was that like? Because you see all the kids pile on the trams and all that from the city, and you think to yourself, what a wonderful experience.
I'll tell you, it really was an incredible experience. I went to school with some amazing people, and even moving on to VCA afterwards, working with other students that went there. Alinta Chidsi, who's currently touring with Moulin Rouge, Anthony Kalia, a lot of great performers that have come out of VCA. It's an amazing place for performing.
So what did your parents think that all of a sudden, here you are, training classical music of all things? What did they think?
Yeah, they. My parents have always been supportive. I've been very fortunate that they've always been very, very supportive. My late grandmother was a singer, never trained, but was a singer, especially in the Jewish communities, and so certainly my grandmother was very, very supportive. But my parents always supported me, took me to Johnny Young Talent School when I was younger, and always supported me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to go to VCA or VCAS, and then subsequently Canada, where I got my master's. Yeah.
But learning, Adrian, learning all the, different languages, and, how difficult was that, or does it just come, naturally, or you're not learning the language so much, or do you?
It's actually funny because these days I find it so much harder to learn. I think as you get older, I find it so much harder to remember a lot of the words. Yeah. But certainly when, in my 20s, last year, it was, I would write it all out, especially I did a lot in German, a lot in Italian, a lot of magic flute and those types of
Well,
operas.
they're the two main languages, aren't they?
German, Italian are definitely, and French is another big one. But writing it all out, listening to it, and then translating it into English so you know how to emote with the other characters on stage.
Yeah. Okay, why Canada? Why did you choose Canada?
Yeah, so there was opportunities within. I was studying at VCA, which is obviously at that point was part of Melbourne Uni. And they had a program to study abroad. I had the opportunity to. It was originally only going to be for 6 months to go overseas and as an exchange student, and it ended up being 8 years, 8 or almost 9 years.
Right.
As a student, then as masters, and then professional career over there.
Right. Okay. And homesick? Did you get homesick? Because you wouldn't have been all that old at that stage.
Absolutely, and I'd never been overseas. By the time I was 21, I'd never been overseas before. And this was the first time, and I'd come back every year to visit family, and it was it's funny because it was always winter to winter. So I was
no.
so I got no sun during that time, but it was winter to winter every year. And but I would never take it back. It was the most amazing opportunity.
Of course. Now, we've got to mention the Olympics. You know, like, how wonderful singing in the national... Okay, it wasn't the Australian... Well, we don't win anything at the Winter Olympics, so there wouldn't be... Well, the odd thing, sorry, we win the odd thing. But Canadian national anthem and the USA. How did that come about?
So a friend of mine, Chloe Hurst, she was part of an agency, and they were looking for two singers to perform at the Vancouver Olympics.
Yep.
It was a 7 o'clock in the morning call. I still remember the night before we had our dress rehearsal, and I got so nervous at doing that gig. You go on YouTube and you type in American National Anthem and bloopers, and you just see so many people get the words wrong and they get booed, and I was freaking out. And I'll tell you what, I rocked up to the dress rehearsal and I flubbed the whole the American National Anthem.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, would you like to use some cues? Would you like a teleprompter?" I said, "Now you tell me." So the next day we had the teleprompter, and it was very successful.
Right.
But it was nerve-wracking, incredibly nerve-wracking, but amazing experience.
Did your parents see it back here?
Because, no.
Oh,
unfortunately not.
Shown?
We recorded it,
right.
But they couldn't see it because it was it was part of a corporate event for the Vancouver Olympics.
Okay. So you've done so well. As an opera singer, you're working so much in other countries and whatever. Musical theatre came to play a little bit as well.
It did later. I was definitely doing a lot of more operetta as well. So whilst I was performing, I'd spent a lot of time in the Czech Republic and Germany singing opera. When I started doing a lot more directing, I started to dabble a lot more into operetta. I did a lot of Die Fledermaus, a lot of Strauss operetta, and that was almost leaning, obviously that's more opera, but I started doing a lot more in that
Gilbert and Sullivan.
Theatre. Yeah, I did what did I do there? I did Pirates of Penzance over there, and got involved in Gilbert and Sullivan, and it's a bit of a cult, that the Gilbert and Sullivan repertoire and the canons, but I also brought that back here and directed three different Gilbert and Sullivan musicals.
Do you call them operas or not?
They're more operetta. Yeah, they're operetta.
And do opera singers look down their nose at
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still remember back in Canada, some of my opera friends would say, what are you doing Gilbert and Sullivan for? But, funnily enough, I resent the comment, because a lot of great opera singers will say that at the start of their careers, they started singing with Gilbert and Sullivan. And, I spent a lot of time with Gilbert and Sullivan, Opera Victoria, and, we're fostering such great musicians and opera singers. Rebecca Gulanello, who's currently singing with Opera Australia. There's lots of great singers that have come from singing Gilbert and Sullivan.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, you've been away for so long. Why did you decide to come back? Because of family ties, or?
I was 30, and I'd lived a lot of life in hotel rooms and by myself. I wanted to start my own family. I wanted to have these, and I did miss home by that point. And I thought, if I'm sick, I can't have a career. If you're sick, or you got a sore throat, the show must go on, right? And that was difficult. So it was time to come home, and I started directing here, and I've got my vocal students here as well.
Yep.
So it was just time to come home at 30.
So wife, Canadian or?
No.
Oh.
No. I met Sarah here. She's a musician, love of my life. She is a pianist.
Yeah.
By trade.
That's handy.
It's perfect match, right?
Well, was it because of the music that drew you together?
Through mutual friends, we met, and she was a pianist. I was a singer. It was a great match, and we had a lot in common. And she was a dancer as well, which was amazing. Our lives just kind of meshed together really well.
Yeah.
And she learnt some of my styles of singing, and she became a singer herself, so she sings as well. And now she's directing a show with me as well. So,
right. Okay.
but all through music.
And when you got back here, did you have to re-establish yourself, or were you lucky? Well, you actually said you directed a little bit when you first came back.
So when I first came back, I was performing more. So I was singing some of the Gilbert and Sullivan roles and some of the other roles, and I also did concerts as well when I came back here. But then I also started to dabble a lot more into my directing, and I've got such a passion for helping younger performers, in staging, and that's a huge passion of mine, just as much as my singing.
And what, in opera, were you doing it to begin with? Is that the arena you were going into?
Opera and musical theatre. Yeah, opera musical theatre.
Well, the crossover to musical theatre, we didn't really touch on it. How do you find that? Because it's very different, but opera is changing dramatically. Like Opera Australia put on some of the big musicals now. I remember My Fair Lady, they did a few. Julie Andrews came to Australia to direct it.
Absolutely. So you find, and what we're finding now is a lot of the opera companies are wanting to obviously get bums on seats, which is very important.
Yeah.
And putting on shows like West Side Story. When I was leaving Vancouver, and I worked a long time with Vancouver Opera, incredible company. They would put on West Side Story, or they'll do those types of shows to get people in as part of the. They'll still do 2 or 3 operas a year, but they would still implement a Sound of Music or a West Side Story.
Well, West Side Story, is classical music in a roundabout way, isn't it? And the story.
Or Phantom of the Opera, another great one that again draws a certain crowd in. And if that, I totally agree. If it draws a certain crowd, but then they'll stay on for some of the other operas, it's done its purpose.
So just going back to musical theatre, do you enjoy it?
I love it. I actually love it, and I love opera, and I love the dramatic part of opera. It is so dramatic, and someone always has to die, and it's scandalous, right? And I love that drama. It's so fun to put on and also be involved with. I was always playing as a tenor. A lot of the time, you play the lover, whereas a bass baritone, I always envied the bass baritone because they were the killer, or, they were the murderer, they were the antagonist, right? So I love that drama of it.
Yeah.
But in musical theatre, being in English, it's a lot more, typically in English, a lot more relatable. A lot of storylines that are just, that they're just so Fiddler on the Roof, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly. Yeah. There's just so many great storylines involved in that, and I love that.
Yeah. Have you been drawn back to Canada at any stage since you've been back here?
I haven't, no. So I haven't, and I'd love to go back, and Sarah, my wife, keeps wanting to go there, and we will go there at some point. Obviously, COVID slowed us down from travelling, but definitely I want to head back there, and also I want to go back to spend a lot more time in Europe, and I spent a lot of time in some amazing opera houses through Czech Republic and Germany, and I'd love to go back there.
They must be so beautiful.
They are.
The photos you see, like standing on that stage at a rehearsal, or even before it's a rehearsal, looking out into that, they're spectacular, aren't they?
I still remember we were doing Don Giovanni and in the Mozart theatre, the theatre that Mozart conducted, and you stand there and go, Mozart was right there, and it gives you shivers. I had other performers that were in tears because you're amongst this presence. I'm very
emotional right now hearing that.
And you look up and you see these, just beautiful. It's just
all the
an
gilt
amazing,
and all the red
chandeliers and it's an amazing, and it's so supported. The arts is so supported over there by the government, and that's how they're able to just continuously, year long, be able to put on shows.
Is that a problem for the arts here in Australia, that it's not supported anywhere near as much as it is in Europe?
I think it's we are supported by the government, but not nearly enough that we should be. Certainly if you go to any of the hundreds of opera houses that are in Italy and Germany, they're all supported. They're all, that's why they're able to put on these year-long productions, and the audiences just have such an array of choice. One night they might be Don Giovanni, the next night it might be Madame Butterfly. it's what a dream, right? To be able to go to whatever opera you'd like to, as opposed to, Opera Australia are amazing, but to put on, 4 operas a year is a very different, they probably do a little bit more than that.
Although we are lucky, we have a couple of opera companies here in Melbourne. But again, they struggle financially as well. But also the process, like with you being a producer these days as well, do you go after grants? Because they're a nightmare, aren't they?
So Sarah's amazing. So my wife, is definitely working more in the producing side of it. I'm more of the directing and performing. But yes, it's very hard to attain grants. So it's a lot of work, getting the pen out and getting your computer out and working through, exactly what you're looking to achieve in the grant. The budget, there's a lot of work involved in putting that together.
Have you got it? Have you got any grants along the way?
No, actually not. Not.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? It's soul destroying, isn't it?
It is. Look, we've had some help from different organisations. So, a few years ago, I started High Theatre, which is a theatre company, and we attained some grants from the Pratt Foundation. But it's hard. It's hard, Yaka. You have to do a full presentation, and grovel. Oh, please give us some money, please.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
But it is, right? It is, absolutely.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, let's talk about it. It's over your shoulder and you're holding your gorgeous son, and he's got this Fiddler on the Roof t-shirt. Who's Fiddler on the Roof?
Fiddler on the Roof, wow. It's, look, Fiddler on the Roof has played such a huge part in my life.
Yep.
From when I was very young, and my parents and my grandparents would show me this Fiddler on the Roof, and you'd see Chaim Topol perform it in the movie, and then meeting Chaim Topol, in 1996, I think.
Fantastic. What was he like?
Amazing. Look, he was very generous and very generous of his time. He'd sign autographs and it was amazing meeting him and seeing that production. And I went, wow, that's what I want to do. I love it.
And you're Jewish?
I am Jewish.
Right. Okay. Yep. So a beautiful Jewish story.
It is.
Like tragic, but so beautiful at the same time.
Look, my late grandparents went through the Holocaust, and it transcends. You start to think about what these people went through. Now, it's not a true story, but it's based on what events that took place in 1905 with the pogroms, and it really, it absolutely resonated with me. I got to put it on, or I got to perform the role of Tevye back in 2017 with my wife. Sarah, who played the role of Golda.
Hey!
So a funny story there, actually, I auditioned for Tevye, I got the role of Tevye, and my wife auditioned for one of the daughters. And they said, we don't think you're right for the daughter, but for Tevye's wife, for Golda. She was totally offended because she was like, I thought I was young, like a daughter. But it was the most amazing experience to be involved in that. And
we're together.
Together, and certainly by the last show we were probably throwing things at each other, but it was real. It was real, and it was incredible. And what you can see here with Noah, we had Noah in 2019, and this was my second production of Fiddler that you see behind us. When I put it on, it was actually in the midst of COVID.
One of those breaks in between.
It was. Yeah. We were very lucky to be able to put it on.
Did it affect ticket sales though? Because people were scared still to come out, or people would book tickets and then get COVID and couldn't show up.
Absolutely. It did affect, it normally would affect ticket sales. Thankfully, we had full houses for the production. And Simon...
Where was it?
It was done, that's a good question, down in the western suburbs.
Yeah.
And Simone Cremona was the director, and she's got a production company. And it was done with kids and adults, and it was just a mix, and it was a beautiful production. Thankfully, we were able to put it on. Which was really exciting.
Okay, so what are you doing now with your wife? She's producing, you're directing. Is it a straight fiddler on the roof that you're doing?
Good question. So we're performing at the Alex Theatre, August 2nd to 13th. Sarah and I are co-directing the show. Sarah's also choreographing the show with Bridie Clark.
Wow.
So Sarah is also the co-director of the Lehenda School. So it's
what's that?
So they're a premium. They're the ultimate Ukrainian dance school here in Melbourne.
Right.
Based
folk
in North Melbourne. Ukrainian folk dance. Yeah, absolutely, and Cossack dancing.
Yeah.
And so she's not Ukrainian, my wife.
Oh, okay.
She is a character dancer, and she kind of fell into it with Melanie Moravsky-Decic, and so they co-direct. Also, she's an assistant director there at the Lehenda School, and we're very fortunate to collaborate with the Lehenda School for this production, which is amazing because it is set in Ukraine or Tsarist Russia at the time, and it's perfect to be really authentic. And part of the production, we've got members of the Lehenda Dance School who don't speak a word of English. They've literally come to the country in the last 3 months.
Wow.
And they just want to dance and they want to be involved, and it's amazing to have them involved in the production.
Yeah.
And we're actually 2 of our nights of our shows we're actually supporting the Lehenda School.
Yeah.
And all proceeds from those 2 shows we're going to give to them to be able to bring Ukrainian migrants here.
Yeah.
And be able to provide them free tuition.
Oh, how wonderful is that?
Yeah.
But hold on, you're saying dances, but it's not a musical, this one.
Absolutely. Well, it is a musical. No, it absolutely is a musical.
Oh, it is a musical.
Yeah, so this is the musical version of Fiddler on the Roof. So it's about 2.5 hours in length, so quite long.
Right.
But there's dance scenes and there's bottle dancing
So it's different to the Fiddler on the Roof of the movie, is it?
So Fiddler on the Roof, the movie, is still a musical because it's got music. It's got music in it. But there also is a play, which is Fiddler on the Roof, or Tevye the Dairyman, which are plays based on Sholem Aleichem's books. So yeah, it's exciting. And so yes, we've incorporated them into some of these bottle dancing and some of the dancing that takes place into Life, for instance, which is one of the major songs of the show.
Bottle dancing. What do you mean by that?
I'm not going to show you. But literally they've got a hat and they put a bottle on their hat and they do these elaborate these elaborate Cossack dancing with this bottle on their head, and they kneel down, and
it's a real bottle.
It's a real bottle.
And is there liquid in it, or
it's typically got liquid in it? Wow. I'm not going to give away too many of the trade secrets, but yes, typically there's liquid in it.
Wow, how fascinating!
Don't drop it.
Don't drop it. But I don't think I've ever seen a photo or been aware of that before.
I'm sure you have, because it's. But you're right. It's a traditional dance, or it's a dance that would have been done. But even in Jewish weddings, Sephardi Jewish weddings, you sometimes see a bottle dancer. And what a bottle dancer in modern day bottle dancer would be, they juggle a bottle directly on their forehead.
Right.
And they balance it. It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. So apart from staging this, and which would take up so much of your time,
it does.
Are you loving it, or is it quite scary as well? Bums on seats per se.
You know what? We're double casting the show, and we've made a choice to double cast it because it's community theatre, and we want to give as many performers an opportunity to perform. Also, COVID has, we get nervous about people being sick. We're doing a long run, or a decently long run, 10 shows in the theatre. So we want to make sure that everyone's premium health, and that we're giving as many people an opportunity to perform. Of course, I worry about ticket sales, and I worry, I want as many people to come out and see the show. But what I love about it, and I try and not get involved in that side of it, but what I love about it is seeing these performers develop through the show. Tevye, the story of Tevye and his daughters, he's got 5 daughters. In the story, he's got the Sholem Aleichem stories, he's got 7 daughters.
Oh, okay.
And the stories are really entwined with his relationship with his daughters, and his daughters. It's about this feminist. They're feminists. They're from 1905. it's probably one of the first feministic stories of the time. So these girls are supposed to be set up by a matchmaker, and always by the matchmaker. And you're probably familiar with the song Matchmaker. And they make their own choices. They don't want to marry from a matchmaker, and each one has a different story. First one wants to marry someone that she wants. The second one wants to marry somebody who's a revolutionist, and Perchik wants to leave and save the world. And the third one being an officer, which is the hardest one for Tevye to accept. And actually, he doesn't accept it. And it's heart-wrenching. He says, no, Chava, this can't happen here. We're Jewish. He's not the same type of person that we are, and I can't accept this.
Whoa!
He can't turn his back on his faith, on his people.
Wow.
If he bends that far, he'll break.
Wow.
So it's devastating. Bring your tissues, because it's a merry-go-round of emotion.
Which that's what makes it such a wonderful play. So, where have you got everyone from? Well, we know where the dancers are from, but are kids involved?
So we've got absolutely. So we've got 100. We had 120 people audition for the show, which so we had auditions here at the Alex, and we cast. We've got a cast of 40, including we've got 4 children involved in the show.
So that's the 2 shows. So it's 20 for each.
No, 40. So
40
we utilise everyone in the show, plus 10 dancers. So we've got a cast of 50.
Wow.
And so in a relatively, not a huge space. We do have kids in the show. We've got 4 girls that are continuously on, and we've also got 2 boys involved in the show. And it's what a journey for these, for people who have never been in musicals before. This could be their first time on stage. So it's a real education for a lot of these performers. But they come from all different backgrounds. We accept everybody, so it's part of MLOC Productions, we've got probably 50 or 60% of the cast are Jewish. There's 40% that are not. They, it could be Ukrainian background, could be Russian background, could be any background. And we open our doors to everybody.
Well, and that's the way it should be.
Of course.
Anyway, so it sounds fantastic. You must be really excited about it.
I'm absolutely excited. I'm so in love with the show and where we're taking it. It's not done the same way as we keep to the same themes. It's still about a Jewish family in Tsarist Russia or Ukraine in 1905. That doesn't change, but the emotional intent changes. We have a live fiddler on the stage who plays the violin, and he's unbelievable. David Hanna is just unbelievable. We really, we have people walking through the audience. It's an immersive experience that we're creating at the Alex, and we're thrilled to be able to put it on here.
Right. Okay. I can't wait to see it. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And is it just called Fiddler on the Roof, or is it called?
It's called Fiddler on the Roof.
Fiddler on the Roof.
It's called Fiddler on the Roof.
But it's a bit different version of it than what we're.
So it's the same. It's the same version. It really is the same version that you would have seen. Anthony Wallow was involved in the last production that was here in around 2016, 2017. Maybe I'm wrong. Exactly the same version that you're familiar with all the amazing songs that you're used to.
Oh, so many great songs.
It is.
So many great songs. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see the show, and can't wait to see what comes along the road beyond Fiddler on the Roof.
Thank you, and absolutely, we're looking at projects for next year, and I'm excited to come on your show next year to tell you about the next project that we're working on.
You're welcome back. You're welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, David.
You've been watching The Art Hunter. I'm David Hunt, and we'll see you again next week. Ciao.